So where's Dan?
Who's doing the intro? Where's Dan?
Where's Dan?
We have to sit here till Dan shows up.
Dan's supposed to. Oh wait! I have a message here saying, "Wait, I'm camping with my son."
What?
I might be late by 2 weeks. Well, maybe we better start the show by ourselves.
You ain't got no. What do they call it? Woodland Wi-Fi.
Woodland Wi-Fi. Yeah. When we're up camping in northern Minnesota, and it's like, wow, I could like do dial up and probably do better than.
You know what I found the other day? Because I get into, like I said, I keep wanting to do videos for your other side of your channel, the Weekend Handyman, Weekend Outdoorsman, because I get into a lot of study about that. And I studied that if you have a ham radio, you can buy a hookup to it to make it be able to send packages. So you can send an email just through ham radio to somebody if you have the right setup. And I was like, that's actually kind of interesting in a way. If somebody needed, if you're stuck somewhere and you needed a map or something, someone could send it to you via that, and you could have a map and whatever you need,
and have that ability to still connect out in the middle of nowhere. Which there's a lot of that in northern Minnesota.
What's his name? Elon gives us the worldwide Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and then after that, all of our frustrations about my phone is so slow will be
gone. I didn't get your call. I didn't have coverage.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah,
that's what she always says. No.
Yeah, exactly. But not anymore. It's great. So, hey, thank you guys for joining us tonight. We are going to be kind of just hanging out and chatting a little bit tonight, hitting some of the recent things that's been going on. As some of you may follow a little bit, the world has opened up here in Minnesota, so we've actually been doing some events. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Talk about a variety of different things that are going on in the industry, and just kind of have a little fun this evening. When we're done tonight, then they're in the chill room this evening. Howie and the crew are going to be talking, and I believe they're talking about, I want to get this right, because he's got a crew coming in tonight for his show. They go out to DJNTV.com/chill, and they're going to be talking about getting ready for outdoor events. And he's got, I see John and Jimmy and Eric, and let's see, Bill is going to be there. So Howie, and then Alex is the other. So yeah, he's got a crowd coming in tonight. It'll be a lot of fun. That's DJNTV.com/chill. They record for about the first half hour, so you can watch, shut your camera off, watch, and then jump in and ask questions and just have some fun in the hallways, which is our DJNTV chill room.
If Dan shows up over there too, I'm going to be mad.
Yeah, exactly. If he's around a campfire and there he is, all of a sudden he's on. That would be just.
That's something I would do.
I was thinking about that. Some night we should just do that, where we're all like with a campfire in front of our house. But then I thought, MJ probably wouldn't want to. He doesn't go outside to do the campfire thing, and he'd have to go to a campground somewhere, because he probably doesn't.
So because I live within the city limits and there's no open fire allowed.
Fires. Yeah, exactly. So he'd have to go somewhere else to have that campfire experience.
I'll set up a small TV with the flame going while I sit next to it, like my pad or something. Get the computer running.
Are we not having? I don't think it's not streaming to YouTube. We've got folks everywhere else, but not on YouTube here.
I'm watching it on YouTube. We only have 3 people watching there.
Oh,
Yeah, 4 people watching now, and I guess that's me. 1 thumbs up. Someone on YouTube, say hello to us, just so if you're sitting around a campfire, let us know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, see where
it
we're
says
at.
We have now 5 watching on YouTube.
Okay, maybe they're
maybe it was just a little delayed over there.
Yeah,
that's late and delayed at the same time. Delayed.
Yeah, I don't. Not exactly sure if it didn't connect. It probably didn't connect properly. I bet. There we go. No, it's.
I'm wondering, because I didn't check that.
Yeah.
Is the link that I did separate from, because I just clicked on the live feed.
Yeah, well, that would be it. It was probably, yeah, that's exactly what happened. I must not have clicked it over to go to the right player.
Because it says now there's 2 watching, so is there 2 different?
Yeah, but it's gone to the other one. So Ken is sitting around the campfire. Well, now it's at least going to the right one. So for those of you watching on YouTube afterwards, thank you for joining us. As in the Facebook folks, there's quite a few I see in Facebook groups and such that are with us tonight. So MJ, this past weekend, we actually had our first time of having a double header. Would that be well, Michael and I both had a wedding this past weekend. So this was the first time where we were both out doing 2 different weddings, and we haven't had that before. So it's kind of a big weekend here for us in Minnesota.
Here's the funny thing I want to bring up to this. How were the masks? Because are you guys like no mask needed, mask for only the unvaccinated, or in the redheads? I mean, like, how does that work?
The mask is when the CDC basically changed it to vaccinated, don't need to wear it. Then the Minnesota mask mandate was taken off. So there isn't a mandate whatsoever in Minnesota.
Okay.
So they're still recommending if you're indoors and not vaccinated. Well, it's just like you were kind of saying off air there the other day. Who's going to confess if the people who didn't get vaccinated aren't going to? Some of them are not going to say they're So
here's why I asked them. Because Saturday, I went out to a bunch of different places, okay? I went to gas stations, get gas, and other things. Fried cheese sticks.
Yeah, healthy.
Got to go to the important things. So I went there, grocery store, Walmart, a bunch of different places like that. Pretty much every single person that used to wear a mask is still wearing a mask around here. Mm-hmm. Which blew my mind, first off. Then, evening comes around, I go to the bars and clubs and casinos, and there's hardly a mask in sight.
Right, and that was actually, on Thursday, we delivered the newspaper, and the stores where the employees wore masks before, in most of the mid to larger stores in the area, still wearing masks.
Yeah.
And the shoppers in these grocery stores, as an example, probably, we were... At the peak, maybe 75% mask wearing, even though it was required and mandatory. There were still people who didn't. Now we're probably looking at about 40% are still wearing masks in the store. So that's, it is what it is. Some of those small towns that they didn't wear a mask, even when it went through their town, and at one time, there were 20 people in a town of 400 who had it. No masks, and it's still not this. So that wasn't surprising. We get to the weddings, and that was my wedding, Michael's wedding, or in the bars, as you say. There was one person who wore a mask Saturday at my wedding. Michael's had 0.
Yeah.
And that's, you're talking, we had 150 people, and I believe, and it's just, in our situation, we were semi-outdoors, which was hot and humid and miserable. So, there could be that argument also that, we're in such a wide open space or a well-ventilated space.
Right.
That could be. But the other was indoors, and you see pictures, and we've seen pictures like this from other of our friends out there. They're on top of each other on a dance floor like it was, 2019.
Yeah, like I said, I was surprised because those of you who follow me, I put a meme out about people with vaccinations, and it's a person without a mask going, hey, and then no vaccines, another person there going, hee hee, without a mask. That's what I thought was going to happen. And then I go to I think it was Sheetz or one of the gas stations, and I'm like, I sat out there for a minute. I'm like, there's nobody's, everybody's got a mask on. Every single person that walks in there's I'm like, what the heck? Yeah. And I sat there for a while. Same thing, went to the grocery store. Everybody had a mask. I'm like, what? And then I go out, just go down to, like I said, the one street in the city called Carson Street. There's all over streets all over the city where it's bars on both sides. Not a mask in sight the entire length. Yeah. Lines out the doors on bars, just packed. And I'm like, wow. And I get to the casino and there's maybe 10 or 15% had masks, and they were usually older people, and they were usually down around their neck, not up. They were down here. So.
Yeah, exactly. Not being worn properly, but it's an interesting thing. I'm to a point. This actually makes me supporting more the concept when they were saying that we're not going to open up until we get to a point, or things shouldn't open up too soon. And granted, some states opened up and there haven't been the rush of it, but it's just a proven thing that if we would have opened up in October and stayed open through October, December, and had events, people weren't going to do what they should do to protect themselves and protect others as well as we would like to see it. So, it was a tough year, and I get that, and it was, but I'm just glad we're getting to the point now where we're seeing the other side of it, and we're working our way out of it. And we had two great events this weekend, and in some of the younger people weren't vaccinated, but most of us over 40. I don't think there was anybody in the room who was over 40 that wasn't vaccinated at that. So the chance of anyone getting sick, severely sick, is so minimal, and that we can function again, which was yay.
Right. Yeah. That's what I'm getting calls for stuff. I DJ for a professional sports team here in Pittsburgh, and got a message last week. We got a full schedule this year. Are you on? I'm like, let's do it.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
there's no, it's slowly starting to come back. A couple of the regular places I hit haven't brought a DJ back in yet. They're still doing kind of this hybrid thing, like the college bars. Mm-hmm. Plus it's summertime, so they're a lot of times slow anyways in the summertime. But I did pick up some other ones. I got bookings from the casino all the way to the end of the year. So, so stuff's coming back. It's I think it's slower on my end a little bit than I think the wedding people in the mobile guys. But here's the thing that I'm going to get your thoughts on. How many do you have booked, or have you talked to other people who have booked, where they're just straight, we're going to do it outside this summer, screw everything else, whether they change it, move it back, and it's already scheduled for outside?
See, I thought we'd have more of that here, because we had that last year, people making that jump. But they were making the jump to outside, but they were cutting back on the entertainment side of it. We're going to do just something small in the backyard type of thing, and they didn't have a DJ. I figured we'd see more. My friends on the East Coast, you're seeing them move into a tent in the backyard, venues, buying tents, and that's what they were doing. Here, it's like we're going to wait it out. And they were waiting to the venues. So once the state dropped the mask mandate, and they've continued to see the numbers. I think today it was reported like 400 new cases, which is crazy low compared to what it was 3-4 weeks ago. It was right. 5 times or more than that. So it's been going in the right direction for that, and now people are starting to sniffing around.
Right. That's the thing. They're starting to test the grounds, kind of getting out there, and I think that's good. That's smart. Which I said at the beginning, as things are going to be confusing. That was part of it. Going to be the confusing was people being hesitant, even if they aren't, that paranoid, people quote on, that stereotype. They're just cautious people. Yeah. In general, in life,
Yeah, and I think that's what we've been seeing here. Not everyone. There's some people who are planning some big. There was a wedding 6 weeks ago that had 500 people at it, and there was one in January that had 400 people at it, and that one caused a lot of problems. But it's overall, I think most people after last year were going to hold out because they just couldn't go through that heartbreak of putting their hopes into it, doing all this, and this past weekend, one of the brides from this past weekend, she had that planned for it last year, and she put a lot of her heart and soul into putting it together. And then once they couldn't do it, they still got married that day. But she tells the story of getting back to their apartment, and now they're a married couple. They're by themselves in their apartment on what should be their party night, and they didn't even get to do a first dance. And so their first dance was off his cell phone in their kitchen type of thing. She was so excited and so fired up for Saturday night. It was just kind of fun watching as they were decorating and just the energy that she had, and she was, this was a big part of what she wanted to do with that wedding or the reception was a party with her friends. And she really was looking forward to connecting with them. So I really wonder if they would have had some stronger restrictions, how she would have handled that, because she did. It was, there were 80 some people there at the very end of the night who were very close friends and family. And if she had been limited to 80 people, I don't know.
Right.
That would have been tough call on her part for sure, because they had a lot of folks there. So great event. But
I think things, and this is again just me because I speculate a lot, that I think after Memorial Day, I think some things are going to change. Because I know for this city already has the 4th of July fireworks scheduled, so people are looking beyond just people, but events and planning are looking beyond it. 1st of June, we have the Arts Festival that's here every single year, and it's a go-ahead for this year. Yeah. I mean, it's an outdoor event again, but it's all over, like the whole downtown, different areas, booths set up for stuff, selling, performances, everything. So that's a big attraction. So after Memorial Day, maybe between them saying things change and people going, I'm just going to go out, it's a nice day, sort of thing.
Yeah, I think
it's going to change at that point.
Definitely see that as we go through. And one area that I talked to a couple of different DJs who were involved over the weekend, and the catering person and a few other people who are working photographers. All of them are telling stories of either knowing of DJs who've left the industry, and then in our area, it's a small community, so people know who the main DJ players are, as an example, and they were saying that so and so is out of it, and he's probably 15 to 20 years. This guy in his company, he's stopped doing it. He's been doing it for 10 plus years.
Right.
The list was like, goodness gracious, there's quite a few that I hadn't expected, but are getting out of it or have gotten out of it completely. And the venue manager was saying that he's getting brides come up and asking, it's like, we can't find a DJ. And of course we speculated that when DJs had the last summer off and found out that, wow, Saturdays are pretty cool, especially some of the part-time people, that they were going to say, I can, maybe live a little more off my weekday income and not have to do Saturdays all the time and spend that with family. I figured that would be there, but from what they're describing, it might be there much more than I had even anticipated, at least in our area.
When you realize this is this thing that me as I write, the book that I'm working on, that I write in there about the opportunity that I have to chase my dream like this, that if you get yourself out of debt and realize how to live that way, it frees you up for a lot. So I can see a person who works a day job going, well, this past year, I didn't spend hardly as much as I used to, got to do fun things. Now they're going to let me outside. I can live off my day job and have a life that isn't working one place or another. Yeah. And I think some people are going to see that life is more than trying to achieve something, And it's more than, and I don't mean that in a negative way, like achieving something's bad, but just there's more to it than that.
And I think you hit one of the nails on the head, and they've talked about this nationally, about the amount of debt that was paid down. Yes, there's some people who have had to, live off their credit cards and such, so it's not uniform, not everyone. Right. But the majority of people in the United States have been able to reduce their debt load from 2020 and early 2021. And part of it is due to the unemployment bump, and the other is part of these little stimulus money that came in. So you've got a family of 4. That there were some nice checks that popped into your account, and if you were still working, husband, wife still working, kids were doing their thing, whatever. So paying that debt down definitely changes, and I think for some people, and even in ourselves, we didn't have. Every time we go cover a trade show, it's between $2,000 and $5,000. We some years have covered 10 trade shows. We didn't cover any last year. We went to the Vegas, and that was it. So,
you know how many miles I drove last year? 4,500 miles the entire year.
And what would you typically do, you think?
Double that usually, because I'm under 10. Because my tax guy's like, why don't you are these really all the business miles you do? And I'm like, you gotta understand that I work 3 nights a week, and all 3 of them are under 15 miles round trip.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's
not much miles a week just for that. So if I have to go to the store and do something that's DJ related, that does get counted. Mm-hmm. I go meet someone, I do count those miles.
Oh yeah,
network, I count those miles, but it's still, I'm driving down to the casino that's 4 miles away, to network, so I put 8 miles down. And it just doesn't add up.
And that's kind of funny you bring up the mileage, because I've got the truck here that's on the other side. Here, that's my DJ truck, and of course, with only doing the one show, it was 24 miles last year. That was
that's right.
The DJ truck, and I didn't go buy gear, didn't go anywhere with that truck. It made like 4 or 5 trips out last year because we used it for a couple of personal, but its longest trip was to the mechanic or the shop to go get its oil changed. Because it's like, well, I don't drive it that much anyway, but I'm going to get the oil changed before winter.
The money I spent on the car last year was bigger because it was new tires and alignment all in the same day. Yeah. So, hey, it is what it is.
And so speaking of money and investing, we didn't see much for new gear that really made us jump. Some people picked up like the Roland, 707. There was a few that did. There was some great pricing on some things throughout the year, but there wasn't a lot of electronics really released, even outside of the DJ industry, that were things that were like, oh my God, I've got to buy that. That just jumped to the top of my mind.
Yeah, there was a lot of phones that are skipping a year.
Yeah,
I'm in with the Samsung Note series, and this fall would be another one for them, and they're skipping it. Talk about debt. In the process of all this, you talking about getting out of debt, my phone's paid off. Mm-hmm. I can tell how many times, because I'm one of those people that turns over new phones like minimum every 2 years.
Right.
I'm under 2 years and my phone's paid off. So I fell right into all of that. I'm like, well, there's the lump amount. Mm-hmm. I'm done. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting as this year continues of what companies are going to come out with stuff and what people are going to spend. Because I do believe that people are still going to be playing catch up this year. Even if everything goes back to 100%, it's still a catch up year. I really do believe that it is, because you're refiguring out. I know with me, I'm DJing new places. So I'm technically right now not DJing any place I did in 2019. Wow. These are all new places. And I'm guessing, like you said, that some of the people in your industry quit. So there are people filling in stuff that they've never done before at venues, picking up maybe a bigger audience, maybe buying some gear for a bigger audience. I have a friend of mine. I'd ask you about the wireless transmitter things.
Yep.
She's moving on to doing stuff like that. And she just did a gig on Saturday where it was 2 floors. And so there are people like them going, well, I want to advance this. So I think you're going to have both. And it's going to be interesting to see what the companies come out with to balance that. Because we were just getting gear thrown at us before. Mm-hmm. And I literally believe that. Like, I love Pioneer to death. But it was like every time you turned around, they come out with a new controller. And I'm like, you got it all already? It's MK2 this, MK3 that. But they've only given us a couple. Not that we needed more, because they did cover everything. But I'm interested to see with them and Denon. I'm a Denon person. And I'm curious to see what their next thing is. They put out those 2 little things. I'm currently looking at Denon going, there's nothing I want to buy from Denon. So am I going to switch brands? So we're talking about all new things here. I'm DJing at different places. I'm buying different brands. Mm-hmm. Who knows?
Yeah.
So I think what's going to be up in the air is how everybody on both sides of the industry, I don't want to say it more than both sides, but we still look at the club bar, the mobile person. Both of those, I think, people aren't as linear in their travel and what they do now. They're venturing out and coming back in and this. And I think that's going to show in what they buy, both, in physical gear to DJ on lights, sound, everything. Mm-hmm. I think that's going to change. And what will the companies, how will they respond to that?
Yeah. And can they predict where that change is going to be in the direction that will become the most popular?
Are you still hearing stuff about shortages for certain types of electronic hardware for some of the companies?
Yep. Okay. Yep. We're still, and there's a few. There's been a few things starting to come through a little bit. Ben was saying, but there are still some major manufacturers that are several months out with gear.
You have to think that a lot of those, you're gonna, take a small capacitor or something. That small capacitor is used in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different types of electronics.
Mm-hmm.
So if the refrigerator industry needs it, it's going to be taken away from maybe the radio industry, and then the industry takes away from the DJ industry, and the DJ industry takes it away from the blender industry.
Well,
so
that whole computer chip thing. This past week, Ford started really pushing their new pickup, their Lightning truck, the first fully electric truck. And I was talking to a Ford,
normal-looking electric.
Yes, normal-looking electric truck. Talking to my Ford dealer guy the other day about that, and he's like, "It's going to be awesome, and you can put your money down and get on the list, and with the rebates, it's going to be cheaper than a regular F-150." He said the problem is that they're predicting it will be available in 2022. He goes, "You didn't hear from me, but it might be 2023 into some people may be getting early 2024 just because they're so far behind. And if they get, a massive amount of pre-sale, which with the federal rebates and different things, you can get into that truck very inexpensively."
Wow.
Yeah, that's
all mind-blowing.
It's all because of the amount of technology that's there and how fast they're able to get the pieces.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy.
Yeah, just not something we would have expected. But I blame it on SpaceX. They keep blowing up their rockets. If they would just keep a few more of their rockets running, they wouldn't have to use so many capacitors.
Or just stop. I mean, what? Don't get me started on that. We have people on this planet that are going without clean water, yet we're sending continual robots to Mars.
Yeah.
The freak, people, prioritize.
Yeah, exactly.
Help the people here first, and then when everybody here's got food and water and all that kind of, vaccinations for things, in other countries where they're dying of stuff that we don't have here, and, then we can start looking beyond the planet.
But then again, you've got to find a spot to be able to open up the next McDonald's.
Or Starbucks.
So there is
no joke. A few years ago, I was up at a mall in your area, the Mall of America.
Yeah.
And I was curious to count how many Starbucks there were. And there was a Starbucks on every single level of that place.
Yeah, and it's a huge mall.
5 stories and ginormously big. And there was you couldn't drink your Starbucks quick enough before you came to another Starbucks.
One, yeah. You could try, but you'd have the froze ice cream headache.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. So this weekend, playing with Virtual DJ, and we've talked about this before. I've mentioned it before, how much I love that STEM technology.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness gracious, that's just so absolutely cool. And I don't know if the last update that they just did actually improved it. I couldn't tell you because it seemed on a couple of the songs that I had worked with before that it was giving me more of the song.
Mm-hmm.
It's still taking the vocal out, but I felt like I had more of the song. What is interesting about this on a Macintosh, and I wanted to find out if you see the same thing. If you do a pre-compute of the stem, so you grab the folder, I'm going to pre-compute, does it just make that processor, that computer work hard on your side?
Well, what it's doing, you understand, it's also every one you pre-compute is, let's say your song is, I'm just going to use this number, 20 megabytes long, size-wise. It's making 4 copies of that. So you've got 5 20 megabyte files that cover the one thing. So it is scanning everything for all of those. It is processing where they're going to be. That's why they've upped it to where instead of it being just a cutoff, it has a I don't know what you call it, an AI that adjusts with it as it's scanning, as opposed to it playing live and you just turn it. It's doing it ahead of time so that when you play that, it's already figured it out tighter. That's why it's looking tighter. But it does take a little process because it's doing 4 scans. 5, because it's doing the original scan for the waveform and then the stem scans. And then there's another scan it does, and I don't remember what it is because they had 2 before and then the stem scans. So technically 6 total scans that it's doing. So I don't pre-scan mine just because I'm not worried that much about it because all I'm kind of doing is dropping stuff out and, a little here and there.
Right.
But they did up it a lot, yeah.
So we were getting the computers all lined up and ready to go. And Michael and I both have, I think, 2014, 13, 14 laptops with the MacBook Pro. And then they were beefed up as much as they could be at that particular time. I started his, and I had the big power supply on, the proper power supply for it. started it, went away for a couple of hours, came back, and you could just, it was, battery was going down. Came back, I think 6 hours later, and again, it was plugged in the whole time, and it was down to 5%. It's like, well, I better shut this off, because when it's scanning those things, it just uses more energy.
Are you scanning like the normal scan? Is that what you meant, or are you doing the stems scan?
Yeah, the pre-compute stem.
That's brutal.
Yeah, that just taking up more.
You got to figure that if you're, depending how many cores your processor has, if it has 4 cores and it's doing a 4-part scan, it's using all 4 cores just for that one process.
Yeah, and it's
but I don't have that problem on Windows, though. Just so you know.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You're probably not.
I really don't. I mean, again, I tell people you got to buy the right computer. You can't go out and just drop $500 a computer and go, oh, this is everything. It's the new. No, you got to have something that has a little bit of beef.
Yeah,
that's why I carry that ginormous computer around, because it never bogs down, and I'm okay with that. I sacrifice the small carry. I sacrifice the long battery life for that, because when it's in charge, if it's plugged in, it's not going down ever. I mean, I could do 100 million things. That battery's not going down.
Yeah. And really, this is one of the first times with any, and it happens on both of our laptops if we're doing a pre-computed stem.
There's a setting on there that you can reduce what it does in the pre-compute, or you can pre-compute. Like, do you feel that you use only pull the vocals in and out? Is that pretty much all you do? Or
yeah, pretty much. I've tried some of the other things.
You do a scan just for that, so where it does not split the drums and the kick and all of that off. It only splits the vocal from that. Makes it simpler, smaller, but yet gives you what you need.
See, that would require me, though, to be really dedicated in only utilizing that.
Highlight.
I like
pushing. Right-click, scan. And then there's 4 check marks. Uncheck 3 of them.
Yeah, but I like when having the ability to push those other buttons, push the bass button, push the vocal button, push.
Oh, okay.
I push the hi-hat button. I just
technically you can still do those without pre-computing, because I don't pre-compute.
And it just does it ahead of the
playback. But not as well, because it's doing it on the fly as opposed to actually scanning each part thing to make it clear. So that's what you're hearing. The full scan, as opposed to doing it live and you just kind of
okay, so that might be also why then because I went through some of our most played folder type things and did the pre-compute scan on those, so we'd have a better.
Can't hurt to do that, because that gives you the option. If you have the space and the time to do that, go for it. I don't fuss, it's just for those of you out there, Serato did put out a new update today too, because we don't want to leave you guys out. It's a 2.5.5 2.5.5 2.5.5.5, yeah. Which they worked with the play count, which they call plays. That's what they call it. They don't call it play count. They call it plays. It helped with that. It helped with, how virtual you can choose to make the sound come out of the computer, make the sound come out of this or that. You can kind of choose that. Well, Serato now has that ability, and they upped the way it does that, so it does it better. So that just came out today for both Serato Pro and Serato Lite. So if you have that, you can go update it. I was playing around with a little bit today. A little difference, but they're working towards that. And I don't know. Are we allowed to talk about what we were told the other one they're working on?
I'm not sure.
Should I throw it? I'm going to throw it into the. How do I get the chat open here for us? Oh, there it is. Hold on. I'm going to send a message to John.
I'm not. I'm not.
You want it on Facebook, or do you want?
Yeah, right there's fine in the chat. I just opened up that window.
There we go. Are we allowed to talk about that? I've talked about it.
I was going to say, I don't know if I saw anything on that.
You were the one who told me about that.
Did I send you a press release on it?
No. This was in 2019. They were working for it towards 2022.
Yeah, because they were gonna have it for the iPad, right?
No, not mobile that way. Sorry, I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah, go ahead.
They're gonna basically what they're gonna have is they're gonna have Serato Lite for the beginner, Serato DJ Lite. Sorry, I have to say that because there are different names for these things. Serato DJ Lite, Serato DJ Pro, and Serato DJ Mobile, designed for the mobile DJ.
Okay, there we go.
And that's where I think that some of these are going towards people who work that side of it that don't want just the mix, or they don't want the Serato Flip that does all the looping and stuff. So that's something to think about as we move forward into that. And Virtual DJ is right on top of all this. John was talking about the stems. I don't know if you know, there's this guy on this thing called Disc Jockey News that does videos about virtual DJ.
Really?
And he did a video a while back about the fact that you can put effects to the different stems. Mm-hmm. So I can scratch just the vocals if I'm playing the song on the right deck and I have the stem effects set to vocals. I can grab and scratch just the vocals on that same deck as the song continues, or throw an echo just on the vocals only. That's the next step up with them, and they're going to continue building these things. I think they have some cool stuff coming. I've heard some hints. It's just virtual's virtual, man. It's powerful. I know people are tired of hearing me say that, but too bad.
Yeah, and it's the reality of it. And I think that's something from this past weekend is that we saw is that Michael is doing a wedding, and he ended up doing some of the same type of mixing and such that he has done at high schools for a large chunk of the latter half of the dance. Yeah. And it just kept that energy on the floor just as it would in a club. But this is, a range of 21 through 50-year-olds who are on that dance floor. Even at my event, I even had a little bit older group, and it was still doing some beat mixing using that stem technology. So I'm not having vocals stepping on vocals. I can drop the vocal out of one, bring that up, and mix the two together. I think I did it a dozen times Saturday night, and that's at a barn wedding that I probably wouldn't have even thought of doing that. And for some people, they were like, "That was just really cool." People are recognizing.
Yeah, I always tell people they don't know what the DJ's doing, but they can feel it.
Yeah,
and that's what you're doing is you're putting out a feeling. Again, I'm going to be talking about this in my book when it comes out. Is that we're manipulating that crowd the whole night. We're tricking them into being engaged with each other and the song throughout the night. Whether it's a sing-along, a line dance, something with a friend, a memory, you're working that. And by doing the mixing, you're cutting those edges so they're not so rough. So it just kind of, you trick them into the next song. And they may be like, well, I want to go to the restaurant, I want to go get a drink. And they're like, oh, I love this song, I'll stay here too. And you just do that in a large sense.
And it's speaking of songs at the events, and one of the things I was concerned about before we started doing events this year was where musical tastes were going to be. Mm-hmm. Because back in the day, we had radio stations, and if you were in an area, you had an age group, you knew they were listening to the top 40 radio station, and you had a great idea of what to expect for their musical taste. It's become more eclectic, as we all know. Then you have a year where people weren't in the same room together. How is that going to pan out? Looking at the proms we had, I think in the proms and the prom requests we're getting, you could see that took a huge shot, that these kids not being in the same room, they're all over the board, even more so than I think they were in 2019, which maybe some of that could be due to online streaming and such. But the weddings, that's the interesting one, is that it was more, in some cases, more of a flashback type party. One of the biggest songs of the night was Backstreet Boys, I Want It That Way. They just went in a sing and just having.
I call that a sing along. Yeah, you just group them by going, we all know these words from back.
Yeah. It was huge, and and granted, there were some newer songs that went very well, even though my crowd was a little bit older.
Did you have to play WAP?
No, that
the WAP on my computer has one play.
Well, I don't think I've even played it.
It was a request, John. I'm just letting you know.
The video, I think, when the video came from promo only, I think it's like, okay, well, that's what it is. But both of the weddings this past weekend had that on the do not playlist. I thought that was kind of funny.
No, it's an audio. I DJ videos all the time, and it's an audio only version that I play.
Yeah,
and that's like, because sometimes I've found videos in the past where somebody will make a dance routine to it, not a dirty dance routine, but a cool dance routine, and I'm like, that's the video I'm going to play.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah, where you can drop it in and make your own edit out of it.
So I agree with you 100%. What I've seen the few times I've been out, and it's going to change this weekend. I'm doing a big club I told you about down in West Virginia, and I'm going to get kind of tested down there and see how I do. But they told me it flat out told me it's eclectic. They said really expect people asking for hip hop and then asking for David Guetta or something. Yeah. They said we'll get both, play both. They love it. I'm like, okay, I can do that. So, I agree with you that it's as what we do, we really do have to read what's going on.
Yeah.
And, you're going to have to do that more now than before.
I think so, and yet you're going to have to still be you're going to have to find ways to blend these things together and bring them together. It isn't going to be the whole radio thing where one song is fading out and you're on the dance floor with DJ John. Yeah, this is going to be great, and then the next song starts. You're not going to be posting songs as a radio DJ.
I tell people you got to think about it like anything in life. People don't change. Okay, when something changes, it's usually the generation that was against it passes away or goes. We'll just say goes away. So as the generation that is used to hearing songs mixed, whether it be on the radio shows, nowadays it's the stuff that's on online. That's what they kind of expect.
Yep.
So even if they go to the wedding and you don't do it, they don't feel the energy that they were feeling from that mix. So if you're now doing the mixing, you're matching what they had before, and they're not even thinking anymore. They're just moving because they moved before. So as the older generation kind of backs away and the next generation comes in, when I say next generation, I'm including, the 50-some people and under, because that was a different era of music. People who grew up in the 80s and 90s. You're going to see that much more accepted as an absolute okay. Where I literally 10 years ago were hearing guys complain about, well, why is that DJ mixing? It's the middle of the afternoon. Why would he mix? And I'm going, did you just bump your head, dude, or something? I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, I used to spin here and we wore funny hats and did this. And I'm like, wow, that was a long time ago, because that's not what they want now.
Yeah, things have changed that way.
Yeah, that's not weddings. That's other places like ski resort. That was one of the things that they used to hire DJs there, and they would be interacting, talking constantly. Now, no, your job is to play music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was back when we were starting to hit the conventions back in the early 2000s around the country. Todd Mitchum was one of the guys who was that guy at the family parks and different bars or venues that he was working. Yeah. They did that. They did the funny shows, the stage shows, and they had to get people up on stage and cluck like a chicken type of thing and win a T-shirt. That was that time. That was that window. Yeah. And it's interesting. Every once in a while, somebody will see some of that and it's like, oh wow, look at there's a 1990s DJ. Yeah, that's what it was.
Miz made a comment.
Yeah, there we go. Yep, go ahead.
I want to agree with you on that. You have to look at things as they change. Like when I DJ the college bars, you have to think that these people are in their 20s. So a 25-year-old in 2011 was 15. So you have to think about it that way. Mm-hmm. Songs that are from 2015 are a throwback to people in their 20s. All right? Not 80s. From 2000, it's not even in the 2000s, the 2010s. So 10 years is a throwback, 25 is an oldies. So mid-90s is oldies to a lot of people, not necessarily at the weddings, because you do have older people, but if you're doing bars and clubs and stuff like that, or your average age is 50 and under, 90s is an oldie throwback, a good kind of crowd grabber sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm with you there.
Yeah, and I think that was very apparent. You're looking at, and I had this discussion with my 90-year-old mother-in-law yesterday. She was talking about when they used to be at weddings. It was a high play of old time music, country polka and waltz, Scottish and different things. And even when we first started, there was a rotation or two. We actually, kind of made a name for ourselves amongst many audiences, because we did have that, and we would play a couple of rounds of that during the course of the night. And there was numerous times where people would be like, "That was great. Can I have a card?" Yeah, that happened. I haven't played a polka and waltz in probably 4 or 5 years. Yeah, it just hasn't happened. The oldest song. Chicago's "Color My World," I think, might have been, and it wasn't because it was requested. It was in that my cocktail set. It's just otherwise everything would have been. There were a few 80s, but it would have been, mid 80s and newer. Yeah,
that's the thing with the DJ. I always tell you that you have to change, because I don't care what group you're standing in front of, they're changing. Mm-hmm. They may be changing some areas faster than other people, or slower, but they're not. What you did 10 years ago is not what you're going to be doing now. And if you are doing what you did 10 years ago, you won't be employed in 10 years. I mean, it's that simple. Things change. And if you're able to just move, like, I'm a good example of this. I can't stand the music I play, but I change with it because it gives me a steady paycheck.
Exactly, yeah.
It's totally different for me, because if you look at my playlist, because I'm a YouTube music person, and Spotify and all that, it's all like dancey, fun, happy, different things. Stuff I play is all straight up top 40, whether it's top 40 hip hop, top 40 pop, whatever. That's all I play. I don't play, well, Friday, because I told you it's an eclectic crowd, they may ask for some Guetta, but that's not the overall, you know. So it's interesting. And I saw this, believe it or not, in Vegas when we were there with the other DJs that I was dealing with. They didn't see a crowd wanting anything fast. And I'm like, drop some Bruno Mars. Just stop thinking hip hop. It's a different crowd. These are people who are industry people that work there. They want to go out and have fun, you know. They're not kids.
And they also want something that is recognizable that they can sing along to, and they can, you know, shout out the refrain, what have. Yeah. And that's, sometimes I think we lose sight of that. And this takes me over to the Twitch topic, which I wanted to hit tonight. Okay. Is are we done with Twitch yet? And nothing against it, but I mean, there's still a lot of people who are being paid by companies to go and do Twitch things. When I'm out there doing Twitch and some of my friends are watching, I get that. That's cool. When I see a company who's paying a DJ $2,000 to go in and do this and have their logo on it, and it's being seen by 4 people, it's like, seriously, if this isn't the most asinine waste of money.
I look at it this way, and I heard some guys describe this recently in a podcast, video podcast. It was either the Road podcast or Mickey D's podcast. And somebody asked a question: do you think that clubs, bars, festivals will start to hire some of these Twitch DJs that have a big following? And everybody's like, oh, sure, man. You got 1,000 people watching you online. You know, club's going to hire you. And somebody else is like, no, think of it like this. Who is listening to that DJ on Twitch? Yep. Are they people that are going to go out to the local club where you're paying him to come and DJ? No, because number one, majority of them probably aren't even from that area. Number two, a person who goes to clubs is going to go to a club to hear music. They're not going to go, oh, I want to hear the DJ online. No. You're just two different crowds. So I think it can continue because there is a crowd that wants that. But I also think guys like me are just like, I'm kind of done with it. You know, I do it for fun. Yeah, I do it for practice. But it's not even a thought of mine because I don't want to have that following. I don't want that crowd. I want to DJ.
And the crowd is either one of two things. It's either your friends and yay, or it's other DJs who are there too.
That was the thing too. Yeah, I got a lot of DJs, and I'm like, I don't want DJs. I want people. You know, again, nothing against DJs. I love you all, but I'll hang out with you and talk to you. But when it comes to what I do, I'd rather have someone who loves music as a fan far more than someone who supports me because I'm a fellow DJ. I don't want you doing that. I want you to like what I'm doing. And if you like what I'm doing, that's great. But, you know, I mean, I don't care if you're a DJ or not and you like what I'm doing, but that should be your first thing. You should be there just supporting me because I'm a DJ. No. Because I'm not going to lie. I'm not supporting you if I don't like what you're playing. Just simply as that. I'll go hang out with you. Call me, hey, my car's broke down. You need help? Absolutely. But I'm not going to go just support someone because they do what I do. I don't know. Anyways, sorry I'm rambling. I want to visit some. We're getting some people commenting finally online. I want to check out a couple of them if we could. Where do you want to go with Jess or?
I think let's kind of wrap it up with the concept of practice. And we kind of touched on it just a little bit with the Twitch, and that's an area for some people who are just getting back into are coming up to shows. How have you, beyond the Twitch side of it, how have you been able to practice and keep sharp over this downtime?
Twitch. That's literally that. I looked at that as going, it is, because I'll tell you 1,000, you could spend a month practicing every day in a room by yourself, and As soon as you have one person standing in front of you, everything changes. So Twitch was the closest I could come to a crowd, and it was good. See, I hated the DJ guys tuning in, but it was good that they were there because I'm twice as cautious and really working hard on my mixes because they're going to know the mess ups when other people won't see it. They're going to, where I'll go, oh crap, and other people are like, what do you mean? And there'll be someone going, yeah, I saw that. It's all right. You covered it well. Stuff like that. That's where I think the practice for me came in. Doing that is because I was able to. It was people who were going to catch me, and so that was practice to me, and close as I could be in front of a crowd. Because I'm telling you, you can spend for months and be the best DJ in the whole world, and the first time you step in front of a crowd, everything changes. Mm-hmm. You become very dumb. And you forget what your skills are because it's like, oh boy, they're right there. They're right there. They may be drunk out of their mind, but they're right there. So it's always been a practice for me. I always liked it that way, and I will still continue when I feel I need, if I have a long break between gigs, I'm going to do it to stay sharp. And I can tell you that it helped 100%.
Nice. Yeah. You did a few things, of course, when we were streaming and did that. And it was a different world Saturday because with the people in front and you feeling the energy of the room, it's like all of a sudden it's like, wait, this song would go and keep this energy in this room. Without them in front and without feeling the energy, observing the energy, however, there were some transitions and mixes that I did Saturday night that I would have never, sitting here in the office, come up with. Right. But when there's that feedback, and I've, Stacy's talked about this, Shane's talked about, mentioning that it's different because there's people there and they're in the chat, but you're not seeing that. And boy, there's just no way you can, that's such an understatement really, that without that room energy and that inspiration that comes from that, not just the excitement and the adrenaline rush, but the inspiration side of it, that you're like, oh yeah, if you guys thought that was good, watch what I do now.
Energy gives birth to energy, and that's is what it is. I mean, I can tell you that there's stuff I played in the Twitch thing that I would never play out live, but it went really well in the Twitch thing. Yeah. So just in song choice is different.
Yeah, I can see that.
I know live, I'll set up a hit song 30 minutes in advance going, okay, I want to hit this around 1:15. I'm going to build up to it and get it to here and get the crowd kind of throw them off so that when I hit, I got more of a pop, what I call a cheap pop. You get that pop out of them. You can't set something up online because people are, tuning in, tuning out.
Yeah,
oh, I'm going to do this. I came back.
There's no build. Yeah.
I'm listening to you at work tonight. You can't have that. You can't have that work of that. I told you, like I said, you have to read that crowd, move them, manipulate them. You don't have that there, but it's still better than mixing by yourself. So to me, that's what it was. That was my practice. Mm-hmm. I know if I goof up, these guys are going to catch me and hear me. And that's what I want to do. I want to hold myself accountable.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it was.
MJ, we need to wrap things up. Howie and the crew are going to be getting ready here in the chill room, djntv.com/chill. It's a Zoom meeting. You're going to go in there, shut your camera off and your mic off. You can watch as they record that first half hour. Then after that, turn your mic on, turn your camera on, go into that chat room. It's just like hanging out in the hallway at a convention. Mondays and Tuesday nights at 10 o'clock, we do this. Howie does Monday night with the recording. Tuesday night, Jay and Brian record. Then after that, it's sometimes until 5 in the morning. These guys hang out in that chat room or that chill room. So crazy stuff, but it's a good time to chat and talk shop with other DJs. So.
I laughed when you said about the hallway. I'm like, it is a lot like that, but you just don't have the body odor that you do. sweating in the showroom floor and stuff, and going up and down the stairs.
Yeah,
you don't have that on Zoom. That's one better point there.
There's no hugging and no having to.
Yeah. So. I do not have a music and mixing show this week. I'm skipping this week because it's a holiday weekend, and I've got some preparations for things to do, including a gig on Friday. It's far away, and it's kind of, I want to kind of mentally prepare for this, but I'll be back after the holidays on June 2nd. And again, I told you guys last time, I'm going to try to have someone, as we did a week about virtual and it went really well. You guys like that. I'm going to try to bring someone in to do questions about Serato.
Excellent.
And I'm going to see if I can get Jay to come in and do questions about Rekordbox.
Yeah, I think that would
look for that. Those of you who use other stuff, I haven't forgotten about you. So Stay
Wonderful.
tuned.
Yeah, Jay would definitely do that. Tomorrow night, we will have a Ben Stowe. We're going to do some questions that have come in. We'll be doing that. And then, of course, Jay and Brian will be coming to you at 10 o'clock Eastern in the chill room. So jump out there. 5 minutes, Howie and the crew will be going. DJNTV.com/chill. And we will catch you guys next time. Thanks, everybody. Good night.